Sometimes the biggest threats aren't the ones making all the noise. They're the ones that build up silently, under a ton of pressure, just waiting for one tiny crack to cause a total disaster. Today, we're going to look at two completely different ticking time bombs. One is playing out in the high-stakes world of global politics, and the other, a much more personal one, could be hiding inside every single one of us.
Okay, let's dive right in. Our first case is this geopolitical pressure cooker. You've got two nations locked in a really dangerous standoff. But it's not a fair fight. It's asymmetrical. On one side, you have this slow, crushing economic squeeze, and on the other, you have these sharp, sudden military provocations.
Yeah, that quote pretty much captures the tension in the Persian Gulf perfectly, doesn't it? The United States and Iran are in this fragile test of wills, but it's the way they're testing each other that's so volatile. The U.S. is playing the long game with these crippling economic sanctions. Iran, though, is feeling that squeeze right now, so it's responding with these risky short-term military moves. It's a total clash of strategies and timelines, and it could spiral out of control in a heartbeat.
And this isn't just some theory. Look at this timeline of what's been happening. A U.S. drone gets shot down. Then you have Iranian gunboats going after an oil tanker. Every single one of these actions is a calculated risk, right? It's a little push that could so easily become a hard shove. It's basically a high-stakes game of chicken, where both sides are trying to figure out where the other's red line is. And all the while, this diplomatic dance is happening in the background. The problem is, in a game like this, a miscalculation isn't just possible, it's almost guaranteed.
So what's really fascinating here is that this shows two completely different clocks ticking at the same time. The U.S. feels like it's holding all the cards, that time is on its side. It can just let the economic collapse do all the heavy lifting. But for Iran, their clock is running out way, way faster. And that's forcing them to create these little crises to try and get some relief and just change the conversation. And whenever you have two sides operating on such different timelines, the whole system is under this incredible strain, just waiting for a spark. So that's the kind of standoff we can see playing out on the world stage. But what happens when we turn that focus inward? Let's pivot from a crisis we see on the news to one that's totally hidden, completely silent, and maybe even deadlier. Okay, so here's the shocking paradox. A person can feel great, run a 10K, have zero symptoms whatsoever, all while a catastrophic widowmaker blockage is quietly growing inside their heart. How on earth is that even possible? Just look at these numbers. They are absolutely staggering. For half of all men, and for nearly 2/3 of all women, the very first sign that anything is wrong with their heart isn't chest pain, it's not shortness of breath, it's sudden death. Think about that. They feel perfectly fine 1 minute, and the next, it's over. That is the literal definition of a silent killer. Now, I think most of us, right, we picture heart disease like a clog in the kitchen sink. You assume the gunk builds up, the pipe gets narrower and narrower, and you definitely feel the water slowing down. You'd get a warning. It makes perfect sense logically. But biologically, it's completely wrong. So what really happens is this wild phenomenon called positive remodeling. As plaque starts to build up inside an artery, the artery is so smart, it actually stretches outward to make more room for it. Let that sink in. The plaque is growing, but the opening for blood to flow through stays 100% clear. You feel nothing. Your body is brilliantly, and dangerously, hiding a ticking time bomb.
So if the pipe isn't slowly clogging up like we thought, what causes that sudden, out-of-nowhere, catastrophic failure? Let's break down exactly what happens when this hidden, unstable situation finally blows.
See, it's not the slow buildup that gets you, it's this super fast cascade of events. First, you've got this soft, unstable plaque. Think of it like a little blister on the artery wall. Then, some kind of stressor hits, maybe a really intense workout or a spike in blood pressure, and it rips the thin little cap on that blister. Your body freaks out. It thinks you got this major wound, so it sends platelets rushing in to form a clot. And in just a few minutes, that clot can grow big enough to completely seal the artery shut. Boom! Blood flow stops. It's the biological version of a diplomatic standoff suddenly exploding into all-out war. And when this whole thing happens in a supercritical spot, like the left anterior descending artery, well, they call it the widowmaker for a reason. This artery is like the main trunk of a tree. It feeds the heart's biggest, most important pump. If you block that, the whole system can just collapse, almost instantly. Okay, I know that sounds absolutely terrifying, but stick with me, because it's not a totally hopeless situation. The body actually has some warning signs, and even a secret backup system, if you just know what to look for. So generally speaking, you're not going to feel any symptoms until a blockage gets really big. We're talking around 70%. That's the point where you might get that classic chest tightness when you walk up a flight of stairs, and then it goes away when you rest. That's called stable angina, and it's basically your body's check engine light finally coming on. The demand for blood is finally bigger than the supply. But here it is. This is the terrifying paradox at the center of all this. While you might get symptoms from a 70% blockage, the vast majority of deadly heart attacks come from plaques that are less than 50% blocked. So why? Because those smaller, softer, blister-like plaques, they're the most unstable. They're the ones most likely to rupture suddenly without giving you a single warning. And another thing that is just so critical to understand is that a heart attack doesn't always look like it does in the movies. Especially for women, the symptoms can be way more sneaky. Things like sudden, extreme fatigue, shortness of breath, bad nausea, or even just this overwhelming feeling that something is terribly wrong. And because these are so easy to brush off, they are incredibly dangerous. But here's the good news. Your body has a backup plan. It's amazing. Over many years, if a blockage grows really slowly, the heart can actually build a whole new network of tiny blood vessels to go around it. It's like building side streets to get around a huge traffic jam. This is called collateral circulation, and it's exactly why a 70-year-old might survive a heart attack that would have been fatal for a 40-year-old. Their body just had more time to build those detours. And all of this brings us to what is, honestly, the most crucial part. Because while we might feel pretty powerless watching geopolitical events unfold on the other side of the world, we have incredible power over this internal threat. We are not just spectators in this story.
The amazing thing is, we're not flying blind on this anymore. Your standard blood tests, they don't tell you what's actually sticking to your artery walls, but modern scans do. A CAC score, for example, measures the hardened, calcified plaque. It's like a history report of your arteries. But even better is the CT angiogram. That scan can actually see the soft, unstable plaques, those invisible blisters. It is the ultimate early warning system.
So what's the bottom line here? It's that a healthy heart attack is almost always a tragedy of ignorance, not a tragedy of inevitability. The action plan is pretty clear. Get your blood pressure and blood sugar under control to stop the damage and inflammation. Keep moving, keep exercising to encourage your body to build those life-saving bypass routes. But most importantly, don't just guess that you're healthy. Use the incredible technology we have to actually know for sure.
Look, at the end of the day, we can watch global tensions rise and fall, and a lot of the time we feel pretty powerless. But this silent threat, the one inside our own bodies, is something we can actually find. We can disarm it. So the only real question left is, are you willing to go looking for the invisible threat before it's too late?